having a wonderful day. Thank you all for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Today we are going to be doing my wrap-up for July. 23 book goal. Do you think I meant that? No, I did read 15 books, which was better than the last month, and yet still somehow less page count numbers. It is what it is. I did read 15 books, and for the most part, they were all pretty good. And then you had some duds that put me in quite the reading slump. First, let's start off with the Daughter of the Pirate King trilogy. Daughter of the Pirate King, which was a reread for me, Daughter of a Siren Queen, and then Vengeance of the Pirate Queen that follows one of the side characters. So, I enjoyed every single one of those. Solid 4 stars. I'm really glad that I reread the first one. It's been so long since I read it. But I'm very happy that I reread it. Because if I had started Daughter of the Siren Queen, even though I remembered bits and pieces, I would have felt so lost. I honestly, genuinely think I would have felt so lost. Because it picks up literally immediately after the first book. Right? So for me, I would have just been like, what? So I'm so glad. And I'm not someone who makes a lot of time to reread. You know, usually I remember books fairly well that I don't have to. Or books provide enough context clues. And there was enough context clues. I think I would have been okay. But I think I enjoy Daughter of the Siren Queen so much better because I reread Daughter of the Pirate King. I love the character development. I love the way the story progressed. I love the plot twist. I loved meeting her mother, the Siren Queen. You know, you think she's going to be like a villain. Like, no, the sirens are pretty cool. Do they lure pirates to their death? Yes. Mainly to protect their treasure. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I like how she grew as a character. And I love the relationship and the romance and how that blossomed as well. Same thing with Vengeance. You're following her assassin, right? She kind of just hates men. She is very afraid of being vulnerable. But I like that she allows herself, as the story progresses, like it's a long journey for her, to allow herself to be vulnerable and not let that be seen as a weakness, you know? So overall, I think all 3 stories connected into a wonderful way. I think the pacing in all of them was well done. The characterization, the world building. I love the world building. I think the story was just so well done and well executed, honestly. Just fix this camera right here. Feels like it's a little wonky. There we go. That's all I needed. But yeah, I think the characterization was really well done. I think everything was solid. It was solid. And I liked that we had that additional side story, you know, Vengeance of the Pirate Queen. I think it wasn't necessary, but I do think it added. You know, you took a fan favorite character, you gave her her own story separate from the original. You gave her a backstory. You invested in a side character and made her flourish. And you even made the romance flourish as well. You made the romance mean something and have, you know, make it worthwhile. So, I liked the story for all 3 of them. Solid 4 stars for all of them. So, following those 3, I was on the street team for Vicious Miscreations, and God, this book. I feel bad because the author now follows me on Instagram after I was on her street team, which I think is cool, great. I love Six of Crows, and this book is like Six of Crows, you know, vibes. But it just didn't work for me. It did not work for me. I can't give this book any more than 2.5 stars. A for effort. And really, Fletcher and Waddy were like the 2 most redeeming characters for me. Everyone else, I mean, Fletcher's love interest, his love interest grew on me. But as for everyone else, I just think they're really, like, they're really abrasive and really rough around the edges. And it's like, I get it. Trauma bonding. You all have some sort of trauma. I understand that. You live in a world that's literally trying to kill you. If it's not all the thugs or the kingpins, it's literally the nature around your city because of the gods. Like, everyone's trying to kill everyone, basically. So you have to be tough to survive. There is no room for any sort of weakness or kindness in this realm. So I get it. But whereas in Six of Crows, you found some charisma with the characters, I don't think there was any charisma with any of these characters outside of Fletcher, their love interest, and Waddy, who was a cat. It was just too rough around the edges for me. So I wasn't emotionally invested in the characters. It also doesn't help that I didn't have my e-reader. I just bought one, and I hate reading on my phone. This is why I don't like getting ebooks, because I just hate reading books on my phone, because it's like hard on my eyes, and I'm pretty blind. Like, I'm blind. I take these off, my phone screen is just a blur. It's just like a mass of blurs. But I hate reading on my phone. So since I'm going to be on a lot more, street teams in the future, I thought to invest in an ebook reader to at least make the experience of reading more enjoyable. And it seems to be working. So I think one, the story just didn't grab me enough for me to invest in reading it on my phone. It wasn't a really pleasurable experience for me. I was not invested in these characters. I found them to be really, really abrasive, and they were all basically assholes. And it's like, I get it, but I just was not here for it, and it sucks because the author is really a sweet person. So I do want everyone to read it to form their own opinions on it, especially if you like Six of Crows. Maybe it just wasn't for me, and that's okay. Maybe it'll be for you. But for me, it felt like it was trying too hard to be like Six of Crows, except it lacked a lot of the charisma that those characters did have. And I struggled. I struggled with this one. And it could have been my reading experience influencing how I read the book. It could have also been reader's fatigue, maybe. But I was excited to read it. I thought it was going to be really cool. I just could not get into it. I really couldn't get into it, and I really couldn't connect to these characters, and that sucked, because I love Kaz. But this one, nope, was not for me, unfortunately. After that, what surprised me the most was The Secret Astronomers. If you saw my TBR, you saw I was really nervous about reading this book, because it's written in notes, It's an actual textbook, and what the author and designer, did is it's an actual textbook, and the author wrote sticky notes. It has two different POVs, community. They're talking to each other through these sticky notes. And I thought, oh my God, am I going to be able to understand the flow of this book? And it was a breeze. In 45 minutes, I was able to read almost half of it. And it was just so effortless. It was effortless, and it was kind of beautiful, because these two characters know nothing about each other, and they're getting to know each other, and they're challenging each other, and they're just talking through notes. And it reminded me of all the days in high school where, I used to pass notes to people. I kind of miss doing that. Just write a little note. Boop. Leave it in a book for the boy I was crushing on to see. Like, do you, all the cheesy shit I did in high school and middle school. All the embarrassing shit I did in middle school. Neither here nor there. But, if you know, you know. But this book just filled me with a sense of nostalgia, and it was really heartwarming, It was also really relatable. One of the characters, their mother died. They also don't call each other by their real names. They come up with astronomer names, and it's really cute. And one of the characters, her mother died, and so she's moved back home to this, middle of nowhere town, from, California, to be with her Christian-loving grandparents, and she just feels like a fish out of water because her mom's dead, and her dad's trying to figure everything out so that way he can be a present parent for her, which includes getting a steady job and doing this and doing that. He's trying, and she's just like struggling, and she's struggling a lot. And then you have the other character who has to take a special bus to the city to go to like gifted classes. So she also feels like a fish out of water. It feels like no one in her family quite understands her. So they challenge each other. So it was a really thoughtful and beautiful story, and I'm not surprised now why it won the Barnes & Noble Young Adult Book Award of the Year. I get it. When it was first announced, I was just like, really? This book? But now that I've read it, I'm like, oh, I definitely see why it won. 100%. I just thought it was just going to be a little too hard for me to like wrap my head around. I was overthinking it, clearly. But you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed it. Solid 4.5 stars. Because it makes me, when I reminisce about it, it makes me feel happy. And I'm just like, yeah, that was a good book. And when a book like touches me in such a way, I think it's like worth noting, Sorry, there's like a bug flying around. Okay. So yeah, 4.5 stars for The Secret Astronomers. Alright, after that, I read The Ashfire King. Man, I was waiting for this book and it did not disappoint. I love the multiple POVs. I love when the characters reunite. I love all the tension. I love the continuous world building that we've got going here. I love all the plot twists. There was like nothing I didn't love about this book. And you know what? It's been a while since I read book 1, but because it's kind of in the style of, 1001 Arabian Nights, it starts with a story, like the story so far. So it really does capture like the essence of the originals, the first book. You're also continuously developing these characters, and then you do have additional stories inserted. Yusuf, he tells stories. He's your storyteller. So throughout the story, there are times when the story is broken up by him or by someone else, in fact, as well. And I like those little stories that break up the pacing. I think that it adds another layer of fantasy to the story, and it kind of grounds you in the mythology that the author is building here. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I cannot wait. The Midnight Merchant, book 3. I'm so excited. I'm here for it. It's gonna be great. I just need our 2 young ones to just... He totally likes her. And I like how his Jinn is just like, you seem calmer when she's around, so let me take her for him. And he's like, don't do that. And he's like, but why not? Your heart's already racing. He's like, stop that. It's a lot of fun to see the dynamic between the characters grow. And to see them become better friends. But I just need our 2 little romantic interests to just kiss already. He totally likes her. She's coming around to realizing that she likes him too. Let's face it. But I like how the author's not rushing it. I do appreciate that. I like how, one of my favorite things is seeing the build of the friendship between characters, and I love that we're seeing that build. So, all I know is book 3, they better, happily ever after, or else I'm gonna be really pissed. Okay, they've suffered enough. Let them be happy. Let them just find their way to each other. But yeah, it's a really good story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Worth the wait from Fairy Loot. Fairy Loot, if you're watching this, y'all better be doing the Midnight Merchant, or else I'm gonna be really, really pissed with you. Publisher, you better find an agreement. That's all I have to say. Alright, after that, I read Among the Burning Flowers! Samantha Shannon! Effortless. This one was just effortless. It's short, it's sweet. I love the characterization. I like how it adds more. So this is it. The events of this book take place before Prairie of the Orange Tree. And you know what? This is what you could read these books in chronological order. You really could. You could read I can't remember the new one. Why am I blanking? I literally just had it. You could read the prequel first, and then this one, and then end with Puri. But I think because there's so many references and a lot of Easter eggs, you appreciate them more if you read the book in publication order. So I really do think you should read the books in publication order, because there's so much. I don't want you to spoil things for yourself either, because I feel like you're going to spoil things. There's lots of references in this and a lot of foreshadowing to what's going to happen in Puri with the Orange Tree. And I feel like I have a deeper appreciation of this book because I read Puri with the Orange Tree first. I think we have multiple POVs, but I feel like the only reason I don't give this book a 5 and it gets a 4.5 is because one of the POVs, I think she just kind of gets left behind, and our slayer, basically our wyvern slayer, I feel like I kept expecting the story to go back to her perspective, and it didn't. She had a few perspectives going back and forth, you know, it does, because since it is multiple POV, but I felt like her story was unfinished. So I think that's why I can't give it a 5, because I wanted more of her perspective. I felt like her story wasn't finished. I felt like her story in this book was not finished and needed to, for me, it just didn't feel like it was a conclusion. Everyone else, you know, their story arcs, I felt like I saw the conclusion to all of theirs, because, like, you know what's going to happen, especially if you read Puri with the Orange Tree, but I felt like her arc was not concluded in this book. And I wanted it to be concluded. So that's the only reason I can't give it a 5 like I did with the other. Oh my god, I just had the book title again. It was on the tip of my brain again. Oh. Mad at myself. But I think for sure if you are going to read these books, read them in publication order. I think you're going to do yourself a huge disservice if you read them chronologically. You can, even the author has said that you can. I just think that there's lots of references and Easter eggs that you're going to miss if you don't read them in publication order. So that's just my opinion. Alright, after that, for my bestie, my brother from another mother, his book club, the LFG book club, they read The Entanglement of Rival Wizards. I really, really enjoyed this book. I really, really did. I gave it 4 stars. He's like, why? Okay, here's why. This is one of my pet peeves that I've said in many videos before. I don't like dirty talking books. It just feels weird. It feels like it's forced. I don't like it. I just do not like dirty talk. And also, when one character calls their partner baby, and like, baby, just talk to me. And I'm like, I hate that. I fucking hate that. I hate that so much. It's a me thing. It's nothing against the book. I think the story was well done. I love the pacing. I love that rising sexual tension between the two characters. It was so well done and executed. I love the world building and how it's like an urban fantasy. I think that that's so cool. I think Sarah Ash is a really good writer. I just cannot stand, and this goes for all authors, and you've heard me say this before in previous reviews, I hate dirty talk in books. Like when they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you so hard, and when they're like doing it and then they're talking, it's like, I hate that. I don't know why. I just do. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. But that's why I couldn't give it more than a 4, because it's just like, every time I like read it, I'm like, cringed. I just cringe. Anytime he was like, baby, just talk to me, and I'm like, cringe. I hate when they call their significant other baby. I hate it so much. I don't know what to tell you. It really like bothers me. It bothers me a lot. And that is the only thing I disliked from this book. The one and only thing. Because overall, I think the characterization was well done. I liked how we talked and dealt with emotional, physical, and mental abuse two youngsters, especially these guys who were supposed to be in like a military camp. It's awful, everything that they went through. And just how their coping mechanisms and how they had to grow and evolve past their trauma, and how their trauma in effect, affected themselves and their relationships that they found. So I do think that it was a well done story. It was emotional. And I think the characterization, those dynamics, they were really well done. And I thoroughly enjoyed every other aspect of the book. I didn't even mind the smut scenes. It was the talking during the smut scenes that really bothered me. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. I acknowledge that. It's a me thing. That's neither here nor there. Still really good book. I really did enjoy it. And I might actually read book 2 because it follows the side character, and he was quite adorable. So I might actually pick it up. We'll see. Depends on how much time I have. I followed that up with finishing the book my son wanted, The Dragonet Prophecy. Cute book. Very violent. Surprised me about how violent. This is a kid's book. Dragons, like, I get it, they're dragons. But it's a kid's book, and I was not prepared for the amount of violence and that was in the book. Every time I read it, I'm like, oh my god, that's violent. And I'm a person who collects knives, and I've been told I'm pretty violent. It caught me off guard. I'm like reading it out loud to my son. I'm like, holy shit, that's violent. It caught me off guard, but it was still a fun book. It was fun. My, kids, because I read it to both my, it was my son's pick, but I read it to both of the kids. Same room. So they both thoroughly enjoyed it. I think Clay was a really cute mud dragon. I like the different dragons that are here. I like how scavengers, I'm pretty sure they're humans. Pretty sure humans are scavengers. But I loved the world building and the hierarchy in the book. The different races of dragons. I've never seen races like that. You've got rain wings and sea wings and mud wings. I think that's really unique. So it was a lot of fun. For someone who loves dragons, I think it was a really, really unique book to delve into. And it's captivating. So if you have a kid who's struggling to read, I think this is a book that will get them into reading. Because it is imaginative and it is action-packed. And you have, your characters. The bond between these characters is beautiful. The bond between them is beautiful and heartwarming. And I love that dynamic between all 5 of the Dragonets. I think their bond was beautiful, and the fact that they're like their own found family was heartwarming. So it was a really good book. Followed that up with my book club pick, Heir. This book caught me by surprise. Absolutely enjoyed every single moment. There were so many jaw-dropping moments for me, like when I discovered one of the POVs takes place in the past, and they're the ones that's working up to the present ones, which is Quill and Shersha. I almost forgot their names for a second. So Aza's storyline is the past, moving up to meet these two perspectives, and everything that just kind of coalesced in there was really, really well done. I was engaged, and no, I have not read her previous series, so I wasn't lost though. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I didn't read Sabaa Tahir's previous series, which I think is set within the same world as this, but even without having read that, I'm not lost in this world. I think Sabaa Tahir does a really good job of building up this world for this story. And building up the characters and mythology. Like, I'm and the magic system, like, I'm here for it. That ending though, holy fuck. Just holy fuck, that ending. It completely caught me off guard. I followed that up with We Are Legion, which was my book club that I host at Barnes & Noble, the Fantasy Fanatics book club. I liked that book so much. 4.5 stars. The reason I can't give it a 5 is because there were some times where there was a lot of telling instead of showing. Normally, that really, really bothers me. For this book, I think it did make sense because it is very science heavy, but it did slow down the pacing. for me. You know, there's a lot of explaining what the Bobs are doing. You know, Bob, Bill, Homer, Riker, you know, Mario. There's a lot of explaining about what they're doing. Now, I get why it was written in that way, because you have to remember that these are not people. They are basically artificial intelligence. Like, Bob is dead. Bob's subconscious was loaded into a computer. So Bob is Bob. But what Bob did is, when Bob was in space, Bob cloned himself and made basically variants of himself. But they're all AI, you know, generated. You know, they have their own artificial intelligence, little rooms and everything, you know, to add faces to themselves. They even gave themselves pets. But they are AI. So I understand why there's a lot of telling. You know, I get it. Some of those things you can't show. You know, in a TV show it'd be great. You know, you could make this into a very successful TV show, I think. Because then you could get rid of all of that telling and you would actually be showing us. But for the purpose of the book, it makes sense why there's a lot of telling. It did slow down the pacing. But it didn't bother me as much as it would, say, like a fantasy book. Because of how the story is, how it's structured, and why it makes sense to do telling. You know, I was taught in writing, never tell a show. Except, in the case of this book, I'm like, I don't know how you would actually show this without actually just telling us what they are doing, you know? So it made sense for this story to take that approach in storytelling. But again, it did slow down the pacing. I love how all of the Bobs have their own personality. I am a science officer. I wore a blue dress. I had my science officer badge. I don't have Vulcan ears, but I wore my elf ears. Let's face it, Vulcans are just space elves. And I wore those for book club as well as my Starfleet earrings. Because I am a nerd, okay? My Starfleet uniform no longer fits me. Because I'm no longer a size 2. I'm a size 4, and yes, that makes a difference, because it was tight to begin with, but if it still fit, I would have fucking worn it. I wore it to see, you know, the Star Trek movies when they were in theaters, so damn straight I would have worn it. So I was a science officer on leave, basically. It was a really good book. I loved all the pop culture references to Simpsons. I love how philosophical it was as well. You know, there's a lot of philosophy that goes into this book, especially regarding identity and religion and faith and just, you know, moral ethics and moral dilemmas, you know, community. There's so much philosophy that can go into this book. And we spent a lot of time in book club talking about a lot of the philosophy in the book, because it is so thought-provoking, and you could definitely become invested in it and do the storytelling. It was just, like, you lost yourself in it. And I'm, like, looking at the clock, I'm like, oh, shit, I have to get back to work. Like, book club needs to end, like, 15 minutes ago. And I'm like, fuck. But that's how thought-provoking the novel was. It was very compelling. And it was funny. And a lot of us had this discussion on, you know, audiobook versus physical reading. There were some parts I physically read, and then I also audiobooked it as well. I did a lot of the immersive reading. I personally think the immersive reading benefited me more for this book, just because of all of the telling that was going on. But I think reading it as well gave me a better grasp on all the science-heavy stuff in the book. So, highly recommend. It is the same audiobook narrator as Project Hail Mary, so that was also a really good plus. He also does a really great Homer Simpson impression. Like, that was kind of perfect. He's also like, dough. And I'm like, that was great. As someone who used to watch Simpson religiously, like, every week, it was great. It's a lot of fun. It is thoughtful. It's, considering it was written in 2016, it's still incredibly relevant. 100% relevant. You know, you could talk about the politics in the book. You could talk about religion in the book. All the philosophical debates you could have in this book happen, and it's great. It was such a great book club read, because you can have those discussions. You know, it was very fun and very nerdy, and I appreciated both of those. I read When Flowers Wilt. This was an audiobook gifted to me by the Nerd Fam. It was okay. Not my favorite. I like how the devil's name is Venus, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, oh, Venus is the devil. I'm like, that tracks. Her father is, God, basically, but there were also many other gods, but then, her and Venus and Lilith destroyed all the other gods. It's a very interesting story. There is some issue in the beginning where Venus does sexually assault our main character with shadows. Your main character thinks she's dreaming, so it's a very questionable area. But I know for a lot of people, because I looked at the Goodreads reviews, a lot of people had a lot of issue with that. And it's like, yes, the author does warn you that there's sexual assault in the book, but I don't think anyone knew that that's exactly what she meant. So she does, and they kind of gloss over it, these two characters. Like, yes, our main character does get mad initially, but they do end up forming a relationship and bonding. So interesting. It was an interesting story. It was an interesting take on the devil. Making the devil a woman was a really interesting take. Making the devil not just a woman, but giving them the name Venus was also a very interesting aspect of it when you think about Greek mythology. So I think the story has a lot going for it. Again, one of my pet peeves, I hate dirty talk. I already said this. I really don't like dirty talk in books. It's a me thing, okay? It's a me thing. It is a me thing, and I totally acknowledge that. But it was an okay story. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I'm a little ambivalent about it, so like 3 stars. I liked how it approached like witchcraft in the book. I do like how the relationship between the two characters did deepen, and they both became better for it. I do agree that it is kind of questionable to form a relationship with someone who did sexually assault you while you were dreaming. I think that is very questionable. I do agree with that. But here's the thing, though. I don't know, like, she does say it did happen. So it is established later on in the book that it was not a dream, that Venus did, in fact, find her and, like, had her shadows, play with her and everything while she was sleeping. So it's not a matter of, well, was she dreaming? Did that actually happen? No, it did happen. They both admit that is an instance that did happen. But I don't know. I'm like a little ambivalent about it. It didn't bother me as much as it clearly bothered other people. I can see why it bothered a lot of other people. But for the most part, it was okay. It was just okay. It didn't wow me or anything. I followed that up with It's About Time. This was a cozy mystery arc sent to me by Kensington Publishing. This book put me in such a reading slump. I love cozies, but like, what the fuck? It's the beginning. Usually there's like a build to something, right? No, it like kind of just bam starts, and then you have like these 3 60-some year old women who, that's the thing with cozies. The thing is, they're trying too hard to be detectives, and usually it's not a matter of the characters trying so hard, and they watch their cozy detective show on TV, and then they have the notepads, and then they take notes, and then they apply those notes to whatever real life situation is going on. I'm like, it feels very forced. I really didn't get a sense of who these characters were. This one had a lot of telling too, and a lot of the segues just didn't make sense for the plot of the mystery. I'm like, okay, but why are we looking in this direction? So I ended up having to like reread whole chapters to be like, how did we get to this part? And then there was a point where I was just like, you know what? whatever. I looked at the pub date. It had already been published last month. So what did I do? I just went on Hoopla and got the audiobook of it just so I could get through this book. And I normally love cozies. Like, you've seen me review cozies. They don't always just like plop you in, like they're at a birthday party and the police are barging in. And it's like, that's what? Really? You're just gonna dump me in the whole situation already? No build, nothing? So that caught me off guard. I didn't get a sense of who these characters were. A lot of the segues just didn't make sense to me. Again, I found myself having to reread whole chapters, which is, to me, when I have to do that, it's like a huge waste of my fucking time. I hate having to do that. And then it felt really forced that they're detectives and we're going to do this and we're going to take notes. And it felt very, very forced to me. And I just did not like it. It gets 2 stars. Basically only because I finished it. I really wanted to DNF this book, but since it was an ARC that was sent to me from the publisher, when it comes to ARCs, I try really, really hard not to DNF books. Especially ARCs. If it's like a book gifted to me or a book I have, like, I'll DNF it and then just resell it or donate it to my local library, right? You know, whatever. But when it comes to ARCs, I try really hard to finish all of them and not DNF them so that I can give my full, honest opinion. And I just did not like this book at all. It was a waste. It was a waste of my time. That's how I feel about it. My next 3-page-a-day read was Shadow Reaper. Fucking good book. 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I just love how comedic it was out of nowhere sometimes. I'm like, that's hilarious and I love it. Completely added to the dynamic between the characters. It was wonderful. I loved every single minute of the book. Every single minute, every single plot twist, the way the story developed, the characterizations and how they grew. That plot twist at the end, did not see that coming. The plot twist with her brother, did not see that coming. The second plot twist with her brother, did not see that coming. I think the characters are a lot of fun. I think they all have a lot of personality. I just loved the pacing of the story, the structure of the story. I thought it was great all around, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And last but not least, Cinderella and the Beast, or Beauty and the Glass Slipper. This is my daughter's pick. Their princess swap. It was fun. I love the way it retold the story between the 2 characters, and how it really did swap their stories, but also made completely new stories. It was just a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And my daughter thoroughly enjoyed it to the point where she just wanted to finish it because she wanted to read the next Princess Swap book instead of K-Pop Demon Hunters. So that's why we didn't finish K-Pop Demon Hunters, the novelization. It was a whole lot of fun. And it was thoughtful, and, you know, I like that message of, like, forgiveness. So again, if you have a kid and they you know, like princess books, but they don't want to just read the regular princess, you know, School for Good and Evil is a really good one, and this is also another really good addition to that. I just think the characterization was really well done. I love how the characters grew. I love how the author was able to reinvent the fairy tales in a new and fresh way, and I really just think it was captivating. It really was a captivating book. Thoroughly enjoyed it. My dad and my kid thoroughly enjoyed it too, both of them. So those are the 15 books that I read this month. Wish me luck for next month. I'm pretty sure I set myself up for a really high goal. I think my goal is 19 or 20 books. We'll see. We'll see when I get to read. Probably less because I am going back to writing. I've got like itchy fingers again, so I have to like write. And also back to school this month. So just as a parent, getting my kids back to school is going to be like a whole endeavor on its own. I already know it. You know, with homework and then dinner and like feeding and then work. It's going to be a whole thing. So, in any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your beloved friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.